Hello, class. We are going to start our EOC review, and EOC is end of course test, and we call it end of course because unlike any middle school course, remember end of grade is 8th grade, but when you start taking Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, um, it's not based on grade anymore because you could be in the 10th grade, 11th grade, and even the 12th grade taking a Math 1 class. So they say end of course and not end of grade. All right, so this is going to be page 11 in your notebook. Okay, this is going to be page 11. Q4, today's date is 4/26. What are we going to say? 4/26/21, 2021. And the title of this page is EOC Review 1. EOC Review 1. And this Review 1 is going to be on expressions, equations, inequalities, and literal equations. All of which we did in Unit 1. All of which we did in Unit 1. Remember, anytime you can pause the video and rewatch or do whatever, okay? Please make sure that you copy all of these notes down. We're going to start with expressions. There are two types of expressions, okay? Two types. If you forgot, here they go. We got numerical expression. A numerical expression is where you have a combination of numbers and operations. A combination of numbers and operations. If you have to put stuff on note cards after we finish taking the notes, please do that. This is stuff you probably already know, so you don't have to put this on note cards. We have 4 basic operations, 4 basic. Your basic operations, of course, are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Those are your 4 basic operations, okay? So numerical expression is just where you have a combination of numbers and operations, okay? No variables in this, none whatsoever. And so you could have short ones, like an example could be, you could have 5 plus 7. That could be an example. Another example could be even longer. You could have 2 plus 6 to the second power. In parentheses, you could have 1 plus 8. And it could be even longer than that, okay? All right. So the second kind of expression is your algebraic expression. Your algebraic expressions are a combination of numbers, operations, and this time variables, okay? So we got a combination of numbers, operations, and remember our operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and variables. A variable is a letter that represents a number, an unknown, right? So examples of what they look like, it can be very simplistic. You can just have 4p, a number and a variable. Just very simple. That could be algebraic expression, or it could be even longer than that. You could have b plus c minus 6w, okay, or some sort. And this could actually be in parentheses. So this is an algebraic expression because it has variables this time. Now, to solve an expression in general, all you're doing is just using order of operations. So very important. Use order of operations to solve expressions. And doesn't matter what kind of expressions, numerical or algebraic, that's what you're going to use to solve expressions. Okay? Now we've covered expressions. Now we got equations. Equations super important. So now equations are two expressions that are made equal to each other. Two expressions that are made equal to each other. So there are two expressions that are made equal to each other. You can have something simple as expressions. You can have something simple. Let's do an example. As 3x or plus, 1 is equal to 7. This could be an example of an equation, or it can be much longer than that. To solve any type of equation, to solve equations, the first thing that you need to make sure that you do is you evaluate the distributive property first. So distributive property comes first. Just in case you have forgotten this, I need you to remember. 2, you're going to combine like terms, and you're going to combine like terms on each side separately before you move anything. And we're talking about each side of that equal sign separately. So don't start moving things until you combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. Then you're going to start moving the variables to the same side. Move variables to same side. Okay. And then last, you're going to isolate the variable by using inverse operations. So to get rid of a positive or addition, you're going to subtract. To get rid of a negative or subtraction, you're going to add, and so on and so forth. Okay. So isolate the variable. And again, you're going to isolate the variable by using inverse operations. Okay. So now we have covered equations. So now we need to talk about inequalities and literal equations. Okay. So don't forget about inequalities. All right. So with inequalities, you're going to solve inequalities the same way. You're going to use the same rules as you would for solving an equation. The only thing that's different is that you're going to when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, the inequality is going to flip. So use the same rules for solving equations. Use those same rules for solving equations. The only thing that is going to be different, okay, is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality is going to flip. The only difference is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the inequality. Okay? So now what are those inequalities? Okay? What are they? Okay, so these are your inequalities. All right, of course, you have the equal sign. That's with the equation that we talked about up here. You have your greater than. I don't usually start with greater than, but I guess I did this time. We have a greater than symbol. We have then greater than or equal to. Super important. This is the greater than equal to sign. We have your less than symbol. Then we have your less than or equal to symbol. Okay. These are your different inequalities. All right. Make sure you write those down. Again, you're going to use the same rules for solving the equations as you would for your inequalities. The only thing is different is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality is going to flip. All right, so now we're going to do literal equations. Your literal equations are equations that have more than one variable. Are equations that have more than one variable. Okay? These are equations that have more than one variable in it. All right? More than one variable. What do they look like? Examples of what they look like. You might see something like this. Simple. A is equal to 1/2 base times height. You see how there's more than one variable here? This is a literal equation. They may ask you, how do you solve for B? So that means you have to get B by itself. You might have one that looks like this. 7P plus N is equal to W. They may ask you to solve for P, they may ask you to solve for N, or they may ask you to solve for W. Okay, so to solve a literal equation, super important. We put the asterisk beside super important stuff. To solve literal equations, you're going to use algebra to isolate the variable. I'm going to say inverse operations, really. Inverse operations to isolate the variable that you're solving for. To isolate the variable you are solving for. Okay, so now those are your notes that you need to make sure that you remember for this EOC end of course review number 1. So now what we're going to do, remember you can go back, pause, rewind. This was the last page right here. Okay, this was the first part of it. Looks like this. So if you need to go back. Okay. The second looks like this. Second page of that. And then the last page of it looks like this. So now we're going to answer EOC questions. Okay, this is the questions that I wanted you to answer. Please make sure that you show your work. I would like for you to do this first, so you can pause the video at this time and work out these problems. First, you need a calculator, okay, pencil and paper. If you show your work, please make sure on a separate sheet of paper, please make sure you attach it to this assignment. And this is your EOC review assignment number 1. All right, it says Alex walked 1 mile. This is Alex in 15 minutes. Sally walked 3,520 yards in 24 minutes. Okay, in miles per hour. So we're really going to convert this to miles per hour. How much faster did Sally walk than Alex? So we need to convert this to miles per hour. Okay, so let's first look at Alex. Okay, and then we'll look at Sally, and then we'll see how much Sally walked faster, because we know Sally walked faster than Alex. We subtract those amounts from each other to figure out how much faster Sally walked than Alex. But we must first convert to miles per hour. We have miles per minute. It's 1 mile per minute per 15 minutes. Okay, so in order to convert, we first are going to simplify to see how many miles is that in every single minute, and then multiply it by 60 minutes, because that will give us the hour time. Okay, so I'm going to clear my calculator. That's second plus 712. Okay, and we're going to say 1 mile divided by 15 minutes, and that gives us this 0.06 repeating. Okay, that's what it gives us per minute. So to figure out what it is in an hour, because it's miles per hour, we're going to multiply this by 60 minutes, because it's 60 minutes in an hour. So I'm going to say this amount times the 60 minutes, and that gives me 4. So it's going to be 4 miles per hour. All right, so this is Alex's time. So now we got to figure out Sally. Okay, so in an hour, if he keeps up that pace, in an hour he would have walked 4 miles. And I need to say miles instead of just miles. All right, so Sally is 3,520 yards. Okay, in 24 minutes. Let's go ahead and convert that yards to miles. So look, it's for every single mile, it's this many yards. So I'm going to divide to see how much this is, to see how many miles that is. So type in 3,520 divided by 1,760. Okay, and that gives us 2. This is going to be 2 miles in 24 minutes. So how much would that be for an hour? So let's do a minute first. So let's do 2 divided by 24. So in a minute, it's going to be 0.083 repeating, and that's for a minute. This is per minute. So now we're going to multiply this times 60, just like we did up here. Multiply this times 60 to give me how much it is in an hour. So take this times 60. So that's going to be 5 miles, and this is per hour. Okay, so this is Sally. So the difference between the two, we say the Sally minus Alex. Okay, and so that's going to be 5 minus 4, which is equal to 1. So the difference is 1 mile. So we're going to put 1 here and bubble in 1. Okay? Please make sure that you show your work. Rewind if you need to see it again. It says, suppose that the function, this is the equation. Do not forget that f of x is the same as saying y. Okay? Don't forget that. Represents the cost to rent X movies. So X is the number of movies a month from the Internet Movie Club. It says Michaela now has $10. So that's how much she has. How many more dollars does she need to rent 7 movies? So let's plug in 7 to see how much money is needed for 7 movies. Okay. So we have y is equal to 2x plus 12. Substitute 7 movies plus 12. This is going to be 14 plus 12. So this is 4, 5, 6. That's 26. So it's going to be $26 for 7 movies, and she only has 10. So you're going to say this $26 that's needed minus the $10 that she have, and you're going to say she needs 16 more dollars. Okay? So it's 16 more dollars that she's going to need. All right, $16 more that she's going to need. So we're going to put 16 here. Okay. All right, let's look at this. It says Katie and Jennifer, so we're talking about two people, are playing a game. They both start with 100 points, okay? At the end of each term, Katie's points double. So Katie you're going to multiply her points times 2. And at the end of each turn, Jennifer is going to increase by 100. So you're going to add, I'm sorry, not 100, 200. All right. So at the start of each turn, they will have, let's see, at the start of which, so it's saying at the start of which turn, will Katie have more than Jennifer? So let's compare Katie to Jennifer, to Jenny. Okay. So in the first turn, they had, So in the first turn, they both have the same amount of money. Lord, I'm thinking about money. 100 points. Okay. So what would it be in the second? So far they have the same. We want to know at which turn will Katie start to have more. So let's do Katie. We have to multiply by 2 to get to the second, to see how many points she would have here. So 2 times 100 gives me 200 right here. And we're adding 200 points to Jennifer's, so it's going to be 300. So far, Jennifer is going to have more. Let's look at the third turn. Okay, we're going to multiply times 2 here. So we multiply times 2, this gives me 400. And when we add 200 to Jennifer, this gives me 5. Okay, so still Jennifer has more than Katie still. So let's go to the fourth turn. And now again, we're multiplying by 2. So this gives me 800. And we're adding 200. So this gives me 700. So this, at the fourth turn, this is when Katie is going to have more. You see that? So how many turns did it take? The fourth. So we're going to put 4 here. So I'm going to go push my page up and I'm going to bubble in 4. Okay. All right. What is the solution to the inequality? So we're going to rewrite the inequality here and solve. Remember, we solved this by using the rules that we talked about a little earlier. We're going to do distributive property first. No distributive property. So we skip that step. Then we're going to move the variables to the same side. So I'm going to move the 6x over here because it's smaller. So I'm going to add 6x to move it. Okay. This is going to give me a negative 17. Bring down the inequality. Okay. And this is going to give me, if you forget, this is 14. Guys, no harm. Just make sure you say 8 plus 6. You see how I get 14. No shame. So we got 14x plus 25. All right, so now in order to get x by itself, remember that next step, we are going to get x by itself by isolating the variable. So move the 25 first. The opposite of adding is subtracting. So this is negative, don't forget, negative 17 minus 25. Make sure you type it in right. And that's going to give you a negative 42. Okay, bring down the inequality. And this gives me, this is gone and I'm left with 14x. All right. So now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 14. And 14 is positive. So the inequality is going to stay just the way it is. Okay. All right. And so we're going to say negative 42 divided by 14. We divided by a positive number. So the inequality is going to stay the same. So we have negative 3 and this is greater than or equal to x. But they have x first here. So this is how you write that. The mouth is still going to be open to the negative 3. Mouth open to negative 3. So this is what we are looking for. And the answer is going to be 4. Okay, this is going to be your answer here, the fourth answer. All right. Okay, let's move to the next one. And usually they use A, B, C, D. So just ignore the fact that they used numbers there. It's crazy. All right, number 5, the volume of a sphere. They give you the volume of a sphere. What is the approximate diameter? So this is the formula where V is equal to 4 over 3 pi r to the third power. We're going to substitute 2,400 in the place of V because they gave you V. They gave you the volume. So substitute the information that you have, okay? So now we're solving for R, which is the radius. After we find the radius, all we got to do is multiply the radius times 2 to figure out what the diameter would be, okay? So let's solve for R. So to get R by itself, we have to get rid of this. We have to get rid of this first, okay? So let's get rid of this by dividing both sides by the 4 over 3 pi, okay? Let's divide this side by 4 over 3 pi. Make it simple. Don't make it complicated, okay? So let's do this. We have our calculator to do this by. So we got 2,400, okay? And we're going to divide it by, and I'm going to put this in parentheses. In parentheses, I have 4 over 3, and then I have, I should have put this in parentheses too. And then times, or just put pi. Look, second pi is right here, the second caret key. You see how I did that second caret key? And then close this parentheses up. All right. And look at what this gives me. This gives me this. All right. So I have 572.96. It's round to the nearest hundreds place. Is equal to, all right. The opposite we know of squaring a number is finding the square root. So the opposite of cubing a number is finding the cube root. So we're going to find the cube root on both sides. All right, so how do you find the cube root in your calculator? This is how you do that. You're going to go to math, and you're going to go down to cube root, which is right here at 4. Super important. So now we're going to type in 572.96, okay? And this gives us about 8.3. So R is about 8.3. So that's going to be C. Okay, that's going to be C. All right, so let's look at number 6. The energy and mass related to the formula. E is equal to, energy is equal to mc squared. Okay, and they told you what each of those mean. What they're trying to find, it says which equation finds m. So that means you got to get m by itself. So in order to get m by itself, we got to get rid of the c squared. Well, c squared is being multiplied to m. So opposite of multiplication is division. So this is going to give me E. Okay, you see that? This is equal to m. So that's what we're looking for. M is equal to E divided by c squared. So E divided by c squared is D. This is a literal equation. That's what I mean when a literal equation has more than one variable in it. And to solve it, you use inverse operations. All right, let's look at number 7. It says solve for Y. So I'm going to put that here. You have X, Y minus D is equal to M. So to get Y by itself, you got to get rid of the D first. This is a minus D, so you're going to add D to both sides. This is gone, and we're left with XY is equal to M plus D. Okay? To get y by itself, because remember it says solve for y, you got to divide by x. So when you divide by x, this is gone, and I'm left with y is equal to m plus d divided by x. So that's what we're looking for. M plus d divided by x is this first one. This is going to be your answer here. All right. Okay, let's look at number 8. Again, this was a literal equation. Let's look at number 8. We have s is equal to 2x plus t divided by r. Then x is equal to, so we're solving for x. So in order to solve for x, get rid of the r first. Okay, you can't move anything. You can't move anything here until you get rid of the r. This is division, so you're going to multiply both sides by r. So this gives me rs, or let's do alphabetical order. So r comes before s. This is gone, and we're left with 2x plus t. Now, in order to get, remember we're solving for x, to get x by itself, move the t first. So we're going to subtract t from both sides. Rs was already there, so this is rs minus t is equal to 2x. Now to get rid of the 2, which is multiplied times the x, we're going to divide both sides by 2. So when we do that, that gives us just x on this side, and x is equal to rs minus t divided by 2. So that's what we're going to look at for. Rs minus t divided by 2. Okay, and this is the answer there. All right, number 9. Remember, you can pause the video, rewind, do what you need to do, okay? The equation, let's write the equation. S is equal to 2 the square root of, 2 times 5 square root of x. This is an equation. It can be used to estimate the speed. So x is the speed, okay? That's what S is, of the car in miles per hour. So S represents the speed, miles per hour, given the length in feet, x. So this is the length in feet. This is the miles per hour of the tire when it leaves the ground. The car is traveling 90 miles per hour, okay, and came to a sudden stop. According to the equation, so we have to use this equation, how long, so this is length, okay, and x is length, how long would the tire marks be for this car? Okay, so 90 is the miles per hour. That's S. So we're going to replace S with 90. And X is what we're looking for. So to isolate X, to get X by itself, we got to get rid of the 2 first. This is multiplication because you don't see a sign there. So we're going to divide to get rid of the 2. 90 divided by 2 gives me 45. Bring down the equal. So the 2's are gone, and we're left with the square root 5x. So to get rid of the square root, the opposite of square root is to square the number. So we're going to square 45. So we got, really, squaring 45 is 45 times 45, right? So this is going to be 2025. And this is gone, and we're left with just the 5x. All right, so that gets rid of, squaring a square root gets rid of the square root. They cancel each other out. So now we're going to divide both sides by 5 to get our answer, to get x by itself. So this is 2025 divided by 5, and that gives us 405. So x is equal to 405 feet. So 405 feet is C. So C is going to be our answer. Please go back and rewind if you need to. Please go back and rewind if you need to and watch. If you have additional questions, please feel free to text me. Have a great, great day. Submit this assignment. Show your work and submit this assignment today. All right. Bye.